When I am drowning, says the Israeli poet Tali Versano Eisman, I don't need you to describe the water, not its color, nor its depth. I can feel it all the way up to my neck. I have only one request. Don't stop, even for a moment, describing the dry land that is on the horizon. There are times in our lives when we feel as if we are drowning. In order to survive, we need to have faith. Faith that is made up of three core elements: faith in oneself, faith in others, and faith in a higher power. A few weeks ago, a group of us from Congregation Orami visited the Nova exhibit, currently on display in Culver City. If you haven't seen it yet, and you're able to, they just extended it until October 20th. It depicts the brutal massacre by Hamas terrorists at the Nova Music Festival of 410 innocent individuals who only wanted to dance, love, laugh, and light up this world. At the end of our visit, we met with Ron Segev, a survivor of Nova. It is hard to reconcile the use of the word survivor in a Jewish context, only 79 years since the end of the Holocaust. But unfortunately, that's where we are. We sat in a circle around Ron, listening attentively to his testimony, embracing his tears and showering him with love and compassion. Ron was able to survive the massacre by running for his life together with his younger brother, while Hamas terrorists were shooting at them with automatic weapons from left and right. Ron was able to save himself and 12 others, including a pregnant woman whose baby was born healthy 7 months later. Listening to Ron testify to the terror he endured, I wondered, how does one find the strength to continue living after going through such a horrific experience? Having lost loved ones who were murdered right before their eyes, having seen things that no one should ever see, carrying survivor's guilt, asking why them and not me? How did I find the strength to wake up every morning anew and the ability to fall asleep at night? Perhaps with the love and support of their family, therapy, education, and maybe with a profound sense of Emunah, faith. The Hebrew word for faith, Emunah, comes from the word amen, the short little word we say at the end of each blessing, reaffirming it as if saying, may it be. It also comes from the word emun, which means trust. In order to have emunah, faith, one needs to have emun, trust. But trust in what? First, trust in oneself, then trust in others, and then also trust in the higher power. Having faith, believing and trusting in ourselves is all important. Such faith makes a difference between life's successes and failures. My husband Daniel and I recently learned this lesson from our 10-year-old daughter, Talia Doron. Talia moved here from Israel a year and a quarter ago, in her own words, without knowing how to read or write in English. We wondered how she would get along. A few weeks ago, she came home from school declaring, I am running for my school's student council president, and I am going to win. Daniel and I were stunned, in shock, actually. Yet our daughter was so confident and sure of herself that the only thing for us to do was to support her on this journey. She prepared all by herself. She made a campaign poster, wrote a speech, and invited us to her presentation in front of the entire school. One by one, the candidates went up to the podium and presented their speeches. Our daughter was last, and she was absolutely incredible. She spoke with such confidence, intelligence, strength, and charisma that led everyone in the room, young and old, to want her as their president. At the end of the day, we were notified that the entire school voted, and Talia won. The new kid who did not know a single person in the school just a year ago. But because she believed in herself and had Emunah, faith, that she could do it, our daughter, Talia Doron Soloway, is now student council president of her school. She learned a new language, made friends, had faith, and became president. I think what also contributed to Talia's confidence was the fact that she also had faith in others. She trusted her friends and teachers, feeling their love and support towards her. You see, none of us live in an isolated bubble. On the contrary, we are all interconnected. So building trust and developing healthy, supportive relationships is really crucial for having faith in others. The third element of Emunah is having faith in a higher power. Whether we understand that higher power to be God, fate, force of nature, or any other way of realizing that there is a creator to this universe whose will is greater than our own. As a young person, I remember myself struggling with this. I always believed that there is a higher power, but was not willing to call it God. Instead, I called it fate and believed that all is foreseen and freedom of choice is granted. Many years later, I learned that it is a famous quote from the Mishnah, Tractate Avot, chapter 3, Hakol tzafui v'harishut netuna. At that point in my life, this belief did not have any religious or spiritual connotation for me. Then in my early 20s, when my father was battling with brain cancer, I suddenly found myself seeking God. I both decided that God exists, and I also entrusted God with my prayers, believing wholeheartedly that as long as I would continue praying, my dad would get better and live. Unfortunately, that was not the case. For almost 2 years I prayed, but at the end, my father still died. And with him, my emunah, my faith, really weakened. There are almost 20 years separating my young 23-year-old self who lost faith after the death of her father and my adult 42-year-old self who found a way both to believe in God and to have a strong, meaningful, and profound relationship with the divine presence in my life. What happened during these interim 20 years that led to this change? My life's journey led me to exploration, learning, miraculous encounters, and divine moments of illumination, during which I discovered that while bad things happen to good people all the time, God is not to blame for it. I used to question God's existing all the time, asking if there was a God, where was God during the Shoah, the Holocaust, and during other personal and collective world catastrophes? My old self would be asking, where was God on October 7th? Then, during my rabbinical studies, I came across a beautiful text in the Babylonian Talmud, in Tractate Brachot, describing God crying after the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, feeling sadness and pain for our people. Rabbi Eliezer says, the night consists of 3 watches, and over each and every watch, the Holy One, blessed be God, sits and roars like a lion in pain over the destruction of the temple. This teaching astounded me. According to it, God has feelings. God did not cause the destruction of Jerusalem. People did. God did not cause my father to die. Modern medicine, unfortunately, could not help him. God also did not cause October 7th massacre. Yet again, people did. God feels sadness about what is happening in the world, just like we do. Another rabbinic source in Eicha Rabbah, the most comprehensive midrash commentary on the biblical book of Lamentations, records a story that echoes the human experience of seeing a parent cry for the first time. It describes the angel's reaction to God's tears at the temple's destruction. At that time, God was crying, saying, "Woe to me! What have I done? I brought my presence down for the sake of Israel, and now that they have sinned, I have returned to my original place. God forbid I will become a source of laughter for the nations and a source of mockery for people." Then an angel came before God, saying, "Master of the universe, let me cry, and you should not cry." God snapped at him, saying, "If you do not let me cry in peace, I will enter the place where you cannot enter, and I will cry there." What an incredible image. God's desire to cry. Such an act of humanity, feeling sadness, hurting, crying, it opens up new possibilities that we should not blame God for human destruction, but rather we should cry and mourn together with God. Martin Buber, the 20th century Austrian-Israeli philosopher, believed that God does not want to be believed in, debated, or defended by us, but simply to be realized through us. We, the Jewish people, share a brit, a covenant with God that began at creation and continues until today. According to this covenant, both God and we share responsibility for whatever is happening in this world. This understanding formated a new question for me. Instead of asking, "Where was God?" I now ask, where were we, the people? Have we ceased taking ownership over the human part in every catastrophe? Since October 7th, I feel like I am sitting in an ongoing Shiva. I mourn the many losses, injuries, and tremendous trauma of the ongoing war in Israel until this very day. I'm also deeply sad for this world, which is filled with explosive anti-Semitism and hatred toward our people, like most of us have never before experienced. It all hurts so much. On some days, it feels overwhelmingly difficult to get up in the morning. I have heard from so many of you that I am not the only one who feels this way. During this past year, I found strength in 3 main places. Being a mother to my 3 beautiful, innocent, and very young children, and being there for them. Being a congregational rabbi, your rabbi, and supporting my people. Leaning on my faith and being comforted by it. As it's written in Psalm 34, "Karov Adonai lenishbarei lev, ve'et dechaei ruach yoshia." God is close to the brokenhearted and saves those of crushed spirit. Faith is my anchor to everything I do, a faith built upon 3 core elements: faith in myself, faith in others, and faith in the Holy One. As my friend Rabbi Avi Dabush, a survivor of October 7th massacre from Kibbutz Nirim, said multiple times over the course of the past year, for someone who does not believe, this is a difficult year to live in. So what does it mean to live with faith? Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory said once that faith is not certainty. Faith is the courage to live with uncertainty. It is not knowing what is coming, but knowing that whatever is coming, it is what it is. God will never challenge us with things we are not capable of coping with. I believe that God wants the best for us, even when we don't understand what is happening around us and are experiencing the worst. I find that my faith gives me strength because, as the contemporary French rabbi Dolphine Hurliver teaches, we Jews are not only what happens to us, but what we make of it. Or, in the words of Rabbi Sachs, in every crisis, our role as Jews is to find meaning, to embark on leadership positions, stick with the Jewish tradition, to do our best to be happy and see everything from a wider perspective as part of our bigger story. Judaism is about insisting that history indeed has meaning. On the morning of October 7th, Ron Segev understood immediately what was happening to him and to thousands of others. He could have stayed at the Nova Music Festival waiting for the terrorists to come, but he didn't. He had faith. In his testimony, he shared that he always had faith in himself since he was little. Usually, when he approaches a challenge, he sets his mind to thinking that he is one of a million, and he acts accordingly. What happens next, he shared, is out of his control, but he always tries his best. On that morning, Ron had faith in himself. He also had faith in others. He survived with others, not alone. So many people helped him in many different ways as he and they were running for their lives. I think that on a terrible Shabbat morning, Ron also had faith in the Holy One, believing that God was on his side. And now Ron understands that he survived for a reason. His life has a purpose. He has a mission in this world. And the truth is, we all do. We are strong. We are protected. Our life has purpose, even when sometimes we don't yet know what that purpose is. When I was leaving the Nova exhibit, I saw a woman standing by herself. I asked for her name. Ayala, she answered. Who are you? I asked. I am a mother of Maya, she said, pointing to a portrait of a beautiful young woman on a nearby video screen. Maya was murdered on October 7th. Ayala came to Los Angeles to share her story with the visitors of the Nova exhibit. I stood there speechless, unsure of what to say. So I did the only thing I could do. I hugged her. For a few long minutes, she cried, I cried. After several long minutes, we parted. Ayala went to meet the group that was waiting for her, and I walked away, thinking to myself, what happened really happened. All the feelings that all of us are feeling are very real. Yet Ayala, who lost her precious daughter Maya in such horrific and tragic circumstances, is able to find a way to get up every morning and has the faith to make every day count. If she can do that, so can I. So can we all. We are strong. We are capable. One day, we will all move on to whatever is next. None of us knows what or when. When we have faith, we can make the best out of it. As the American author Katrina Kennison writes, in the meantime, may we continue to take good care of ourselves and of each other. May we mend the part of the world within our reach, hold each other up, welcome every fleeting moment of delight, and embrace the mystery of being here for all of it. For this, dear friends, is our time. A time not of our choosing, but the one we have been given to make of what we will. When we have faith, we can control and monitor our fears. As it is written in Psalm 23, Gam ki elech begates al mavet, lo irara, ki ata imadi. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Remember, we only die once, but we live every day. So have faith in yourself, in others, and in the Holy One. Lean in. Make every day count.